Hi, everyone. I'm excited. Even I'm excited about what you're about to announce, so thank you both for joining us. Let's get straight to it. Catalyze. Now, this is breaking news. This is what we like to do on Bloomberg. There's a press release that was sent out less than an hour ago about you two working together and actually, looking at supply chains for the energy transition. Kate, tell me about it.
Absolutely. Well, it's a pleasure to be here with you all, and I'm so thrilled to be on stage with you, JP, to make this announcement, because we are rolling up our sleeves and really figuring out how do we turn our pledges into progress. I think that's all about what we need to be doing here at COP. So we know that many nations, many cities, many companies have set net zero targets. We have a goal at Google that by 2030, we want to reach net zero emissions across our operations and our value chain. We've been at this for a really long time. We've been buying clean energy for our operations going all the way back to 2010. We have an ambitious goal around our scope 2, around our electricity, to get to carbon-free energy on every grid where we operate. We're making progress. We're at 64% of the way there. But 75% of our carbon footprint is our scope 3, is our value chain. And so we need better solutions to drive decarbonization with our value chain and to partner with our suppliers. And also, it's not just our suppliers, it's our suppliers' suppliers and their suppliers' suppliers. And so that's what makes this so challenging. And so that's why we're absolutely thrilled to be joining this initiative, because what this enables us to do is bring our suppliers to the table and then get the incredible expertise and support of the team at Schneider Electric to enable our suppliers to get better access to clean energy on the grids where they're operating. And when it comes to the semiconductor industry, carbon-free energy is one of the key ways we're going to get to deeper grid decarbonization. And a lot of people talk about scope 3, they talk about the challenge, but honestly, it's all boats will rise. If we can partner with our suppliers, partner with the other companies in this consortium, and get your expertise at Schneider, we can reduce emissions in a really meaningful way. So that's why we're excited about this.
Okay, so Jean-Pascal, can you? What exactly is Catalyze, and how important is it that you have private companies coming together like this?
So the first point to mention here is that sustainability is teamwork. So you spoke about 75% of your carbon footprint being with your suppliers. At Schneider, it's 99%, right? We have 200 factories, presence all over the globe, and a lot of it is with our suppliers and customers. So when we make the commitment to be carbon neutral by 2030, it's teamwork, and we need to help each other. What we did at Catalyze is going one step further. We launched the initiative in July this year with Intel on Applied Materials. And this is interesting because you realize that those companies, Google, Schneider, Intel, Applied Materials, are not at the same level of the value chain. One is doing the machines, the other one is doing the chips, the other one is running data centers. We supply power to all of us. But it's about saying that we all belong to a value chain, to an industry where everybody is a scope 3 of somebody else. And if we want to progress together, either we do it one by one, company by company, and that's going to be extremely inefficient, or we put our energies together around one digital platform, one set of methodology, efficiency, decarbonization, supply of the right renewables, and then immediately we progress faster. You know the saying, if you want to go fast, you go alone. If you want to go far, you go together. And this is what we are doing. And the good thing is that it's as we are speaking about semiconductors, it's all about digital. And for the first time somewhere in the history of energy, digital allows you to connect all the dots of the value chain. So we are able, from who supplies energy, who supplies the chip, who supplies the machines, to connect those dots, and everybody progresses together. It's just the beginning. Today we are 4 on board, but there are more people joining and more announcements to come. But this industry is a big industry. We've all realized the strategic importance of it. And it's also important for sustainability as a whole, because digital is the biggest disruptor to efficiency, IoT, smart buildings, smart manufacturing, smart cities, and so on. And we need a value chain in electronics and IT, which is very efficient.
But Jean-Pascal, so what would be your dream? How many companies in that value chain do you want to join? I mean, what does success look like longer term?
Look, there are thousands of companies in that value chain, and thousands of suppliers who supply Google, Schneider, Applied Materials, Intel, and all the other ones. when we just need a subset of those companies who are asking progress all around the value chain to help those thousands of companies who otherwise would be submitted to non-consistent demands to work in the same direction and be efficiently responding to our demands.
Okay, Google is a big company, and so I imagine you have customers who go to you and say, actually, maybe I want to be part of this. Scope 3 is very hard for me to manage. Like, how do you get them to join this initiative, but also others to make good for climate change?
Yeah, well, that's why I'm so excited about this, because we're very fortunate at Google. I mentioned we've been buying clean energy since 2010, so we have a team of experts who do this work in-house. But most companies don't have those teams, and they don't have the capacity to build them. But now they don't need to, because you can do that for them. And so that's really the power of this initiative, is we bring our suppliers to the table, they bring their suppliers to the table, and then, as you were describing, you get that full value chain coming together to decarbonize together and to send the demand signal, because a lot of the semiconductor supply chain is in the Asia-Pacific region. There's not enough clean energy available today. So we need the demand signal. We also need policy that enables us to get to more rapid grid decarbonization, and that's where we need to do this together. And I think part of my dream, too, is we don't just do this for the semiconductor value chain, we do this across value chains in the electronics industry and more. And I think this is really the model. This is the vision of why Scope 3 works, because my Scope 3 is someone else's Scope 2. Yeah. And then if you can bring that expertise to the table, you can support companies that need that support today.
And Francine, I want to add to that we didn't do that alone. We did that with Semicon, which is the biggest association, global association, gathering all the industries around electronics and semiconductors. And we launched that in last July at this big congress in San Francisco. And that's gathering a lot of traction.
Okay, what do you see also as the role of technology in this decarbonization process?
Yes, well, I know I had the pleasure of getting to speak with you yesterday on air, and a lot of what's making us hopeful at this COP is the power of AI to accelerate progress. So I think partnership is a key piece of it. That's exactly what we've been discussing. We also see AI as a further accelerant. In the negotiation halls we're talking about, we have to get to that 43% reduction by 2030. The stock take is off track. What we found in a report we published last week with BCG is that you can get to an additional 10% global emissions reductions by 2030. That's equivalent to the emissions of the EU by having AI further accelerate the technologies we have today. And when it comes to grid decarbonization, that's solutions like we've teamed up with another great company, ENGIE. We're working with them to use machine learning to predict wind energy 36 hours in advance. That makes wind easier to manage on the grid and makes it actually more valuable. So that's a great application. Also, we have colleagues in our sister company called Tapestry. They're working to bring machine learning to grids to do grid modeling. They've teamed up with grid operators in places like Chile that have ambitious clean energy goals to model what would it look like to pull a coal-fired power plant off the grid? What would be the impact of extreme weather on renewable energy? So we're very bullish on AI being an accelerant of the technology we have today so we can make more progress.
And this is important because technology also uses so much energy.
Yeah, and I want to add to that. I mean, when we speak about that episode 2 of the Internet and digitization, which is the digitization of things, where you can reach really a new level of efficiency by connecting everything, you can't be IT alone, right? You have to connect everything. So think about the world we were before. Systems are not connected, buildings are not smart, homes are not smart, grids are not smart. So you can run AI, but provided you have a system that connects everything, and where you can generate data, aggregate that data on the cloud, then run on it AI from the design time to the build of infrastructure to the operation. And then you get, at Schneider, this is really what we do, by connecting the physical world to the IT world, you can really integrate everything from the shop floor to the cloud. You can integrate the whole life cycle of installation from the design to operation and run AI and optimize at every stage. But what's important, let's face it, I mean, Most of our buildings are not connected. Most of our manufacturing are not connected. You speak about grids. We are doing the biggest smart grid in the world next door in Egypt. 10 million points connected. But you need to connect it to be able to run any sort of AI on it. So we have a vast industrial revolution, and at the same time, we discover that climate change is a challenge of our generation. That revolution of digitization of everything, of all the physical things around us, is happening at the same time and offering an incredible path to more efficiency and more sustainability.
But to both of you, and Kate, we touched on this yesterday, when you look at the use of technology, it's data centers, it's electricity, so that's going to go up because of the water usage. And at the same time, you're trying to decarbonize or make energy that comes from, that's less pollutant. So at what point does technology in general, AI, become a force for good? Because you have two competing forces.
Yeah, and I think it's really important that we talk about that, especially in this moment of AI being at an inflection point. It's so critical that the benefits far outweigh the environmental footprint. And in the report I mentioned that we published last week with BCG, we get into that. We talk about the opportunity space, but we also talk about the environmental footprint. What we know is as of last year, data centers globally represented about 0.1 to 0.2% of global emissions, and about a quarter of that was powering machine learning. So that's still relatively small, but it's absolutely essential that we stay on top of that by optimizing how we're training machine learning models, by making the hardware as efficient as possible, and then again, back to carbon-free energy. And then the same goes for water. In the US, data centers are using about 0.06% of water, so again, it's a small footprint today, but we have to keep an eye on it, and that's looking at the energy-water nexus, climate-conscious cooling, making choices that are locally relevant about where there are healthy watersheds, where water can be used for cooling to gain on energy efficiency, and where you need to find other solutions. So we have to be responsible as we're unlocking these bold solutions.
I can only add to that. I mean, the net positive of the use of digital, I'm not speaking for everything we do digital, but for the usage of digital to make things more sustainable and efficient is incredibly positive. Like in a building, if you make your building smart, the baseline of savings on emissions would be 30%. Remember that data centers and IT is probably 0.2% of the emissions. So, and you can put that also in the industrial sector, you can bring that to the city sector. The question we should ask ourselves is the rest of digital, right? So streaming and everything which is generating traffic, which doesn't have an environmental payback. But this is one. Now, this being said, the development of AI is a true energy challenge, because what we see today is that AI represents 8% of the consumption of data centers. On fast forward only 4 years, it's going to be 20%. On a power which will have doubled. So we need to keep that under control, and this is where the whole industry also is working on efficiency of the technology.
Okay, to you both in 20 seconds, what are you most optimistic about what you heard at COP?
The only thing I want to, 70% of carbon emissions today can be eliminated with today's technology. And the problem is not technology, the problem is for us to change the way we design and operate things. If the world could understand that, we would be able to retrofit buildings, cities, infrastructure, and manufacturing 10 times faster than what we do today. So it's for us, human beings, to change our behavior. We don't need the next moonshot innovation to save the planet. The future of the planet is in our hands.
Kate?
Absolutely, and yes. And I think to build on those excellent points, you know, a lot of what we've been talking about on this stage today is the critical importance of grid decarbonization to working on climate change. We need to get to 24/7 carbon-free energy grids globally. And I've been heartened by some of the announcements that have come out of this COP that are very much going to support that, whether that's tripling clean energy by 2030. That's something we've endorsed. We think that's a key piece of the puzzle. But also work around advanced nuclear. There's been an endorsement of tripling nuclear by 2050. I know there's more coming around fusion. So again, getting at this larger suite of 24/7 carbon-free energy technologies, that's going to be a key solution to decarbonization and really going to support a lot of what we've been discussing up here.
Well, thank you both for joining us. Kate, Brandt, and Jean-Pascal Tricoire, thank you.